Hi, everybody. Steve here, and welcome to day 3 of my journey into crypto, where I'm taking 30 days to start from absolutely zero to try to learn as much as I can about cryptocurrency, blockchain, and everything else. And today, we're going to dive into how do you even buy crypto? What do we need to do to get set up so we can make that next step? So let's get into it. First thing I did is, just quick review. First thing I'm focusing on now is really how to acquire currency. And back to my original plan, I labeled Coinbase as one of the options to look into. And I also added Binance to this equation. And these are both what are called central exchanges. It's not unlike going to a foreign country when you have to trade in your US dollars and try to buy the currency at that location. That's the way I think about it, at least. But these are not unlike signing up for a bank account or some type of investment account. And we'll get into that. So, which one do we start with? And what I quickly realized is not every coin or asset is supported on each exchange. And there are many other exchanges besides these two. I just want to start with easy. And I recognize that I will ultimately need both. So I did a little bit of digging and I made the decision to start out with Binance. And the reason is I was interested in this project called Helium. And I'm not going to get into any of those details today. But as I was doing some research, this one caught my attention because I've been in the wireless technology business for well over a decade now. And there's a really compelling story behind this project, which made me look into it. So I wanted to see how would I even start to buy something to get into this project. So that was the motivation for me. But again, I think I'll need both accounts on both exchanges at some point. And I'm pretty sure the setup process is going to be the same for both. So I think you can use the process that I'm going to show you for either Coinbase or Binance, but I'm going to walk you through what you have to do in order to get set up. And this will help kind of save you some time and also just educate you on what you'll need in order to set up an account on one of these exchanges. So first of all, keep this in mind. At Binance, they do have a Binance.com. They're a global company, and due to US regulations, they have a separate website presence at Binance.us, and that's where you'll need to go to set up your account. And that's a regulatory oversight thing. And also, unlike what we did previously with setting up the MetaMask wallet, this process was much more involved. As you can imagine, we're talking about actually purchasing things and exchanging value with money. So this is a lot like setting up a lending or institutional type investment account. And here's what we're going to go through. You're going to have your basic account set up. You're going to do email verification. So they're going to send email back to you. There's going to be requests to set up two-factor authentication. I highly recommend doing that all the time. There's ID verification, part one. There's a big agreement that you have to look into. And then there's the ID verification with government ID, part two. So I'll go through that pretty quickly here and just show you what it's going to look like. So first of all, account setup really standard for anything that you would sign up for online. Email password has to be 18 plus or older. At least you have to indicate that. I definitely recommend don't mess around with this because once you put money in it, and if you're not 18 and there's any issues, they can lock it. And if you read anything about PayPal, you'll know that it's true. There's also the T's and C's. So once you pass this, they're going to send you an email with a verification, and that code is something that you'll need to enter in on that side. Again, this is pretty standard for a lot of account setups where they're going to validate that it's a real person with a real email address and just get used to the process. That's why I put this in here, because this type of stuff happens over and over again. Now, the next part is they're going to request that you set up two-factor authentication. So you'll need a mobile phone number. And a quick side note, I think on the day that I did this, their SMS gateway may have been under some type of duress because I had to have them resend the code to me several times. The time frame expired before I received the code, and that happened with both texting and email. So that was not the case since then. Each time I've logged in, I've had zero issues, but the day of, I had significant challenges. I had to submit a resend notice each time doing this. So here's the first part that you'll have to do for verify your identity. They're going to ask you for your name, date of birth, and also your tax ID or social security number. And I have a business tax ID and I have a social security number. I ended up using my social as it matched my residential address, which was where I was. They look you up based off of where you say you live. So there's some other stuff that happens behind the scenes, but what they're really trying to do is validate that you are who you are and that the address that you're using matches the social security number that you're using. So there's quite a bit of oversight going into this. Then they have the formal agreement. Again, it's similar to an investment account. So you can quickly go through that. And then part two of the identity setup is you're going to have to provide some type of formal government ID. And you can see all the options on the screen here. It's, driver's license, state ID, passport, or visa. I chose for the one I recommended, obviously, which was your driver's license. And this was very easy to do, by the way. I have a webcam, clearly, but I was able to hold my license up to the camera right in front of it. It took a picture, and then I flipped to the opposite side, which I appreciated. I did not need to take a picture on my phone and email it somewhere, for example. That's what Facebook has you do, and it's really frustrating. Then you have photos of your ID that get synced up to the cloud. So I like the way that they did this, and it was really fast. They also had an option if you wanted to use your phone. I did not take that route, but I think what they would have done is sent you a text message that would have linked you to an online app where you take a picture, similar to how you might do it if you take a picture for a mobile check deposit with a bank. Either way, it was pretty sophisticated, really fast. And then that was it. You're set up. And the only thing that happened in the background after that, they were still verifying my identity based off of my government ID and everything else. But when I checked back, probably less than a half hour later, it was all done. I got a notification, an email that it was all done. So now I have an account where I can buy, sell, trade commodities. And that's pretty cool. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. And the next steps I'm going to be working on is I need to add a payment method so I can buy something. And I need to also look into what happens when you buy something. There are transaction fees, there's a process behind it. I don't know anything about that yet. So I want to be a little bit educated before I take the first steps. And then I'm going to make a plan for a first purchase. And I'm not going to overthink this. There are some assets that are out there that are really, really inexpensive. And I'm treating this as an experiment. So it's the cost of learning. So obviously, I'm not going to make my first purchase on helium. And I'm certainly not going to do it with an expensive asset like Ethereum or Bitcoin, where they're trading in the thousands or tens of thousands. So I'm going to focus on something really low cost just so I can get a sense of what is involved with a whole transaction process. So it's going to cost me money. I don't care. I'm just going to do it. And I'll share that lesson with you. All right. Until next time, thanks for joining and looking forward to seeing you next time.